everybody. I'll give you a second here to pop in completely unannounced because I only have a few minutes, and it is the full moon in Cancer today at 24 degrees in Cancer, conjunct Mars. Oh my. It's a lot of emotional volatility in the air. Anytime we have that opposition uh, with Sun and Mars in itself, it does bring reactivity to the surface because we want to defend ourselves against something external or something that seeks to extinguish us or devalue us or put us down, uh, sometimes manage us. It's a lot of feelings in the air today, a lot of emotions, reactivity. We have to be very careful about how we react and be more mindful to respond, not react, respond. If we're reactive, we're probably just throwing back the karmic ball. Uh, we aren't actively looking at who and what is happening. If we're just in a reactive mode, we're not respecting who the subject is that we are in relationship with or in conversation with. We tend to just want to squash the competition, squash what it is that is making us feel angry or out of control or nervous. And so if we do that, because it's a full moon, well, we'll see the effects at the new moon, and it's probably not going to work in our favor because we're looking at the results of our emotional immaturity and reactivity. And so be very, very careful, be gentle. It can be a day where we get ourselves into trouble because we are reacting with passion, self defense, nervousness, tension, conflict, rather than leaning into discovering and being curious what is happening, what is really going on, where's the source. So the new moon was the adulting moon in Capricorn. And that was like the New Year's resolution. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to take the adult path. I'm going to grow up. I'm going to do the hard thing. See, that's the New Year's resolution. And now we have, do we actually do that? Is that's really translated to being something that becomes a habitual emotional pattern. See, do we make the resolution to go to the gym? 2 weeks later, we see, are we still showing up? Or are we back to eating Twinkies that we bought boxes of before we knew they were being discontinued because we were really afraid that we wouldn't have what it is that we've grown up with? Now we see. Is my resolution, my goal, what I chose of my own free will to show up for, is that something that I am really taking responsibility for? Is it something that I really am doing, or am I starting to see the cracks in my facade? See, Saturn, Capricorn, Cancer stuff. Capricorn is the goal. That's the resolution. That's what we're resolute about, is what we grow up and we show up to. But Cancer and Moon is a very infantile aspect of emotions. And reactivity, playfulness, a passive aggression, rather than the kind of aggression we can recognize, take responsibility for, and then choose to, of our own free will, bottle or funnel in the right direction. See, Mars can be very wasted. This is our full moon. We can waste our Mars. We can waste our energy. We can waste our credibility with our infantile nature. That's counter to, because it's in opposition, it's counter to the part of us that really does want to break through, to embody the kind of image that we consciously want to grow into, the kind of responsibilities, the kinds of goals that we, of our own free will, made, set, and at one point when we were in our adult mode, chose to show up for. But this is also very similar to, Capricorn, Cancer, and Mars in the stomach is very similar to deciding that, you know what, I need to lose a few pounds. And so I am going to resolve, I'm going to do the adult thing, the hard thing. I'm going to resolve to go onto some kind of diet or some kind of program or show up and for myself differently. And now we see are the hungry forces, the more infantile, passionate, unmanaged forces within us actually running the show. We can see it in our behavior. We can see it in how we conduct ourselves and our choices. It's very obvious. Are we really going to the gym? Are we really eating Twinkies? Are we really doing what it is that girls, that serves that more consciously directed purpose? Basically, how are we self-sabotaging? Through falling back on more infantile or unrecognized habitual emotional patterns. The moon is our habitual emotional pattern. It's conjunct to Mars. And Mars is the infant. It's that impulse within us that in some cases serves us well. And in other cases, it just gets us into trouble. So Mars can get us into real hot water while it's retrograde, and particularly this opposition. If you're not consciously putting Mars into hot water, I told you, Mars needs to spend a lot of time in hot tubs. A lot of time in relaxation. That impulse to kill, to win, to tackle, to react. The survival mode, that needs to be reflected upon. The use of our libido. And so if we haven't put that into priest mode, because we're getting out of beast mode and going into priest mode, with Mars in Cancer, gets priestly when you have to put it in a place of reflection. Then we're probably going to get into trouble because we are not in tune. We don't have our inner and our outer in tune. That's what we're looking at. And if you have difficult aspects between your sun and moon or difficult oppositions in your chart, this can be a very enlightening time, a triggering time and an enlightening time. Because we can see, how is my conscious and my unconscious not on board with each other? How am I experiencing division within myself, and then consequently division in the outside world? Relationships between others, division between where I am and where I want to be, that original separation. When do we have a chance to really look at that? So be very careful how you treat people, especially those that are closest to you. We can be very, very knee jerk and just reflexive when it comes to how we defend ourselves or how we snap. Or I caught myself snapping at my girls this morning. It's a, if not a low key, a high key frustration vibration. And we need to catch ourselves before we get too carried away. Best to just perhaps even take some time to reflect before we do respond under this influence. And take some time to reflect on why is our apparent behavior, our goal, what we want, and what we're doing deviating. How are we not completely on board on one way or the other? Because if that's the case, we'll find a way to get out of it. We'll find a way to create conflict. We'll find ourselves in conflict. There isn't a unity. There isn't a unified purpose or unified girls. Sorry, I didn't shut the shades. But they're reactive today. I don't know why that would be. Yeah, our own lack of unity, our lack of being totally consciously on board. How is that throwing a wrench into things? And two, sometimes that's justified. Sometimes we are still investigating something. Sometimes something's still building. Sometimes we're still not sure about something, and we have every right to have reservation. But we need to look at how might we be hedging and making things harder on ourselves, more leaning into reactive things that are coloring what we're seeing, and how might we be rushing? How might our passions be guiding us when we should be taking steps to look closer and to have an investigation process? So it could be different for a lot of us. If we're stuck in snail mode, we might need to get more into our heart, more into our feelings. And if we're stuck in rabbit mode and we are not being careful, we need to be more reflective and look at what might we be rushing towards without enough evidence. So that's what I got for now. I will see you guys tomorrow, and I'll probably pop in on Facebook or Instagram later today. Talk more about this. See you later.